The massive ship hung in Earth's orbit like a dark moon. Its hull stretched for miles, covered in weapons that could turn continents to glass. Ambassador General Vexthul stood on the bridge, looking down at the blue and green world below. He had done this 43 times before. It never took long. Another primitive world, his aide whispered. Look at their cities. So small and scattered. Vexthul nodded. The Kethmoran Empire had rules about these things. Find a new species, study them for a few days, then give them the choice that was not really a choice at all. Join the Empire or die. The humans had been broadcasting radio signals into space for barely 100 years. Their fastest ships could not even leave their own star system. They fought wars with chemical explosives and metal bullets. By Empire standards, they were still in the Stone Age. Send the message, Vexthul ordered. The communication beam reached Earth in seconds. Every radio, television, and computer on the planet received the same signal at the same time. The message was simple and had been used thousands of times before. People of Earth, I am Ambassador General Vexthul of the Kethmoran Empire. Your world has been chosen to join our great civilization. You will surrender all weapons. You will give us your technology. You will accept your place in the Empire as a worker species. You have 7 of your days to agree. If you refuse, your world will be cleansed and given to others more worthy. In the United Nations building in New York, world leaders stared at their screens in shock. The alien ship above them was real. The weapons pointing at their planet were real. The choice they had been given was real. President Chen of the United Earth Alliance spoke first. Can we fight them? General Morrison, head of Earth's combined military forces, shook his head. Their ship alone is bigger than our largest city. Our missiles would be like throwing rocks at a tank. Then we surrender? Asked Prime Minister Okafor of the African Federation. No, said President Rodriguez of the Americas Union. Her voice was quiet but firm. We asked for time to think. The other leaders stared at her. Think about what? Chen asked. They have guns pointed at our heads. Maybe, Rodriguez said. But they gave us 7 days. That means they think we need time to make this choice. Maybe they are not as sure as they pretend to be. The room fell silent. Finally, Secretary General Nakamura spoke. We send a message back. We tell them we need time to discuss their offer with our people. And then what? Morrison asked. Then we find out what humans do when someone tries to put chains on us. 3 hours later, Earth's response reached the Empire ship. Vexthul read it twice, then called his aide over. They want time to discuss our offer with their people, he said. Have you ever seen this before? The aide checked his records. No, sir. Most species surrender immediately when they see our ships. The ones that refuse usually attack right away. None have ever asked for discussion time. Vexthul was puzzled but not worried. 7 days would give his teams time to study the humans more carefully. It would make the final surrender more complete. But as the days passed, something strange began happening on Earth. Instead of the panic and chaos that usually followed Empire ultimatums, the humans became more organized. Their military forces did not run away or hide. They moved closer to their cities and towns. Sir, his intelligence officer reported on the 3rd day. The humans are doing something unusual. They are not preparing to surrender. What are they doing? They are preparing to fight. Vexthul laughed. With what? Their metal bullets against our energy shields? That is what makes it unusual, sir. They know they cannot win, but they are still preparing to fight. On the 4th day, more strange reports came in. Human factories that made cars were now making weapons. Farmers were learning how to shoot. Children were being moved to underground shelters, but not to hide. The shelters were being turned into supply bases. Sir, the intelligence officer said, I think you should see this. He showed Vexthul a recording from Earth's communication networks. A human female was speaking to a crowd. They think we will kneel because they have bigger guns. They think we will surrender because they have more ships. They have studied 43 other worlds and 43 other worlds gave up. But they have not studied us. They do not know that humans do not kneel. They do not know that we would rather die free than live as slaves. The crowd cheered. The woman continued, Let them come. Let them try to take our world. They will find that some things are more important than staying alive. They will find that some species cannot be conquered. They will find that they picked the wrong world to threaten. Vexthul watched the recording 3 times. In 43 previous conquests, he had never seen anything like it. Usually, the native populations begged their leaders to surrender. They offered to help the empire if it meant staying alive. These humans were different. Their leaders had told them about the ultimatum, and instead of demanding surrender, they were volunteering to fight. Old humans, young humans, male and female humans, all of them saying the same thing: come and try to take our world. On the seventh day, Earth's final answer arrived. It was not written in the formal language of diplomacy. It was not a long document explaining their decision. It was 2 words that made Vexthal's blood run cold. Come and take it. Sir, his aide asked, what does this mean? Vexthal had studied human history during the waiting period. He knew exactly what it meant. It was what human warriors had said at a place called Thermopylae when a vast empire demanded their surrender. It was what human rebels had said when a king tried to take their weapons. It was what humans always said when someone tried to enslave them. It meant they chose to fight. Prepare the landing forces, Vexthal ordered. This will be quick. It has to be. But even as he gave the order, he felt something he had never experienced in 43 conquests. For the first time, he was not sure the Empire would win. As the first dropships prepared to launch toward Earth's surface, Vexthal looked down at the blue world one more time. Somewhere down there, millions of humans were waiting. They knew they could not win. They knew they would probably die. But they were waiting anyway. What kind of species chooses death over slavery? He wondered aloud. He was about to find out. The Empire's research teams worked around the clock, trying to understand what they had found. In the ship's main laboratory, Dr. Kethaval studied the data about humans with growing confusion. They are weak, she told Vexthal during the morning briefing. No natural armor. No claws, no poison. Their bones break easily. They cannot even see well in the dark. Then why are they not surrendering? Vexthal asked. Dr. Kethaval pulled up more files on her screen. That is what makes no sense. Look at their history. They fight each other constantly. Wars every few years for thousands of years. But when outsiders threaten them, they stop fighting each other and work together. She showed him videos from Earth's past. Humans fighting other humans with terrible weapons. Cities destroyed. Millions dead. Then she showed him something else. Those same enemies becoming allies when a bigger threat appeared. They have a saying, Dr. Kethaval continued. Me against my brother and me against our cousin. My cousin, my brother, and me against the stranger. Vexthal did not understand. What does that mean? It means they will fight anyone who is not human. It does not matter how strong the enemy is. It only matters that the enemy is not one of them. The intelligence reports from Earth were getting stranger each day. Human industries had changed completely in just 1 week. Factories that made toys now made ammunition. Companies that built houses now built bunkers. Even their entertainment had changed. Their movies and games were all about fighting impossible odds and never giving up. Sir, the communications officer called out. We are picking up more transmissions from Earth. What are they saying now? They are teaching each other how to fight. Every broadcast channel is showing how to make weapons from household items, how to hide from air attacks, how to turn normal buildings into fortresses. Vexthal watched the transmissions with growing unease. An old human male was showing others how to make explosives from farming chemicals. A young human female was teaching people how to shoot accurately with ancient projectile weapons. Children were learning how to carry messages without being detected. This is impossible, his aide whispered. They know we can hear everything they broadcast. Why are they not hiding their preparations? Dr. Kethaval had been studying human psychology. Because they want us to know. They are trying to scare us. Scare us? They are the ones who should be scared. Yes, but they do not think like other species. Most species try to survive. Humans try to win. The difference was important. Other species the Empire had conquered would do anything to stay alive. They would serve as slaves, give up their freedom, accept any terms that meant their children would not die. Humans seemed to think that some things were worse than death. Vexthal studied reports from the 43 worlds the Empire had conquered before. Each time the pattern was the same. Show overwhelming force. Give an ultimatum. Watch the species realize they could not win. Accept their surrender. But humans were not following the pattern. They had seen the Empire's ships. They knew they could not win. But instead of surrendering, they were getting ready to fight anyway. Maybe they do not understand how powerful we are, suggested his aide. Show them, Vexthal ordered. The Empire ships moved into position around Earth's moon. They fired their smallest weapons at the lunar surface. turning mountains into valleys and valleys into seas of molten rock. The demonstration could be seen from Earth with simple telescopes. Earth's response came 6 hours later. It was a video message from their military leader, General Morrison. "We saw your fireworks," Morrison said, looking directly into the camera. "Very impressive. But you missed something important. You destroyed empty rock. When you come down here, you will not be fighting empty rock. You will be fighting us." Morrison's face was calm, but his eyes were hard. "You think showing us your big guns will make us afraid? You are wrong. It just makes us angry. And you really do not want to make humans angry." Dr. Kethval was fascinated. "Look at his body language," she told Vexthul. "No fear responses. No submission signals. His stress levels are actually going down, not up. How is that possible? I think knowing the fight is coming makes him feel better." Uncertainty was making him nervous. Now that he knows what will happen, he can prepare for it. The reports from Earth kept getting stranger. Human sports had changed. Instead of games, they were practicing military skills. Their religious leaders were not praying for peace. They were blessing weapons and talking about honor and death. Most disturbing of all, humans who had been enemies were now working together. Old rivals were sharing technology. Enemy nations were combining their armies. The entire species was uniting against the Empire. "This has never happened before," Vexthul told his staff. "Other species fragment when we threaten them. Groups try to make separate deals with us. Leaders try to save themselves. But humans are doing the opposite." "Maybe they do not understand the choice," suggested the intelligence officer. "They understand perfectly. They just do not accept it." On Earth, President Rodriguez was meeting with other world leaders. The conversation was being broadcast openly, another thing that made no sense to the Empire observers. "They want us to choose between freedom and death," Rodriguez said. "They think this is a hard choice. They are wrong. For humans, this is the easiest choice in the universe." "Some of our people will die," warned Prime Minister Okafor. "Some of our people die every day," Rodriguez replied. "People die in accidents. They die from disease. They die of old age. But if we surrender, our children will never know what it means to be free. That is worse than death." General Morrison spoke up. "We cannot win a direct fight. Their technology is too advanced. But we do not have to win. We just have to make them pay such a high price that they decide we are not worth conquering. How do we do that? We make them fight for every building, every street, every room. We make them afraid to land anywhere on our planet. We show them that ruling Earth means bleeding for every inch of it." Vexthul turned off the transmission. He had heard enough. These humans were not going to surrender. They were not going to run away. They were going to fight, and they were going to make it hurt. In 43 previous conquests, the Empire had never lost a single ship. Casualties were always light. Resistance was always brief. This time would be different. "Sir," his aide asked, "should we request additional forces?" Vexthul thought about it. Standard doctrine said to use minimal force for primitive worlds, but humans were not following standard patterns. "Send for one additional battle group," he decided. Better to have too much force than too little. He did not know it yet, but he had just made his first mistake. One additional battle group would not be enough. Nothing would be enough, because the Empire had never fought a species that preferred death to slavery. The landing was scheduled for the next day. As Vexthul prepared for sleep, he wondered if the humans were sleeping too. Probably not. They were probably awake, preparing for tomorrow. Preparing to die fighting rather than live kneeling. For the first time in his career, Vexthul was not looking forward to victory. The first Empire landing ships dropped through Earth's atmosphere like falling stars. Commander Zethmar led the assault on what humans called New York City. He expected to find millions of panicked civilians running in chaos. Instead, he found empty streets. "Where are they?" asked his lieutenant as their ship touched down in the middle of the city. "Hiding," Zethmar replied. "They will come out when they see we are not here to kill them all." The Empire soldiers moved through the empty streets in perfect formation. Their energy weapons could cut through any human structure. Their armor could stop any human weapon. This should have been simple. The first shot came from a window 50 floors up. It was just a human bullet, barely powerful enough to scratch Empire armor, but it was followed by hundreds more bullets from windows, rooftops, and hidden positions throughout the city. "Return fire," Zethmar ordered. His soldiers fired back, but the humans were already gone. By the time the Empire weapons destroyed one hiding spot, the humans had moved to 10 others. It was like fighting ghosts, sir, his communications officer reported. Landing Team 3 is under attack. Landing Team 7 is requesting backup. Landing Team 12 has lost contact. Zethmar was confused. The attacks were not doing any real damage. Human weapons could not penetrate Empire armor or shields, but they never stopped. Every few minutes, shots would come from new directions. His soldiers had to constantly watch for threats instead of securing the landing zone. These humans are fools, his lieutenant said. They cannot hurt us. Why do they keep trying? The answer came when Private Kexlon stepped on what looked like normal pavement. The explosion threw him 30 feet and cracked his armor. He would live, but he could not fight anymore. Mines, Zethmar realized. They have mined their own city. More explosions followed. The humans had not just put bombs under the streets. They had put them in buildings, in vehicles, even in piles of garbage. Everywhere the Empire soldiers went, something exploded. Sir, came another report. The humans are not fighting to win positions. They shoot at us, then run away. When we follow them, we walk into traps. Zethmar studied his map. His forces controlled the landing zones and nothing else. Every block they tried to advance into became a battlefield. The humans would not stand and fight like proper soldiers, but they would not surrender either. New orders, he announced. We will force them to fight properly. Begin destroying the city block by block. When they see their homes burning, they will come out to surrender. The Empire ships in orbit began firing at human buildings, but the humans had expected this too. The buildings that exploded were empty. The humans had moved into tunnels, sewers, and underground spaces that the Empire sensors could not detect easily. Sir, his intelligence officer called out. You need to see this. She showed him a video the humans were broadcasting on their networks. A human soldier was standing in front of a burning building speaking to a camera. They think they can scare us by destroying our cities, the soldier said. They are wrong. We did not build these cities for them. We built them for us, and we can build new ones after we drive these invaders away. Behind the soldier, more humans were moving through the ruins. They were not running away from the destruction. They were using it. The rubble gave them new places to hide. The broken buildings gave them new firing positions. Zethmar had been trained to fight other military forces, armies that tried to hold territory, enemies that protected important positions. But humans were fighting differently. They did not care about holding ground. They only cared about making the Empire pay for every step forward. Sir, came an urgent report. Landing Team 5 has been overrun. Overrun how? Human weapons cannot penetrate our armor. They did not use weapons, sir. They used their vehicles. The report was impossible, but the video evidence was clear. A group of humans had loaded a large truck with explosives and driven it directly into Empire positions. The driver had not tried to escape. He had died in the explosion, but he had taken 8 Empire soldiers with him. They killed themselves to kill us, Zethmar whispered. What kind of species does that? The attacks were getting more creative and more desperate. Humans would pretend to surrender, then detonate bombs when Empire soldiers came close. They would hide in rubble for hours, waiting for the perfect moment to attack. They would sacrifice themselves to save other humans who could keep fighting. Sir, his communications officer reported. High Command wants a status update. Zethmar looked at his casualty reports. In 6 hours of fighting, he had lost more soldiers than the Empire typically lost in an entire conquest. The humans were still losing more people, but they did not seem to care about their losses. They only cared about inflicting damage. Tell High Command that the humans are resisting more strongly than expected, he said. Should I request reinforcements? Zethmar hesitated. Requesting help would mean admitting that a primitive species was giving the Empire trouble. But his soldiers were exhausted from constant attacks and the humans showed no signs of stopping. Yes. Request reinforcements. The fighting continued through the night. Empire soldiers found that darkness made everything worse. Humans could move through their own cities without light, using paths and passages they had known since childhood. Empire troops with advanced sensors and night vision equipment still could not predict where the next attack would come from. They are like insects, complained one soldier. We kill hundreds of them, but thousands more take their place. But they were not like insects. Insects acted on instinct. These humans were thinking, planning, adapting. Every time the Empire developed a new tactic, The humans found a way to counter it within hours. "Sir," the intelligence officer reported, "we have intercepted human communications. They are coordinating attacks across the entire planet. What are they saying? They are sharing information about our weapons and tactics. Groups that fight us in one city are telling groups in other cities what works and what does not work." Zethmar realized what this meant. The Empire was not just fighting the humans in New York, they were fighting all humans everywhere, and all of them were learning from each battle. "They are turning this war into a school," he said. By dawn, the situation was clear. The Empire controlled the areas around their landing sites, but they could not expand beyond those areas without taking heavy casualties. The humans controlled everything else, and they were getting better at fighting every hour. "Sir," his lieutenant asked, "what are our orders for today?" Zethmar looked out at the ruined city. Smoke rose from hundreds of fires. The streets were filled with rubble and wreckage. But somewhere in that destruction, thousands of humans were still waiting to fight. "We continue the mission," he said, "but send another message to High Command. Tell them we need more ships, more soldiers, and more time. These humans do not fight like any enemy we have faced before." What should I tell them about casualties? Zethmar thought about the soldiers he had lost. Good soldiers who had conquered other worlds without a scratch. Now they were dead because humans were willing to die to kill them. "Tell them that conquering Earth will not be quick," he said, "and it will not be cheap." As the second day of fighting began, Zethmar wondered if the Empire had made a mistake. Not a tactical mistake or a strategic mistake, but a fundamental one. Maybe some species were not meant to be conquered. Maybe some species would rather burn their own world than hand it over to invaders. Looking at the determined resistance around him, Zethmar was beginning to think the humans were one of those species. 6 months after the first landing, Vexthul stood in his command center reading reports that made no sense. The Empire had sent 12 battle groups to Earth, 12 groups that should have been enough to conquer 50 worlds. But they still did not control the human planet. "The casualty reports, sir," his aide said quietly. Vexthul looked at the numbers and felt sick. 3,000 Empire soldiers dead, 8,000 wounded, 47 ships damaged or destroyed. These were not the statistics of a successful conquest. These were the statistics of a war. "What are the humans doing differently?" he asked Dr. Kethaval. The doctor had been studying human tactics for months. "They learn, sir. Faster than should be possible. We develop a new weapon, and within days they have figured out how to defend against it. We change our tactics and they change theirs to match." She showed him a video from the previous week. Human soldiers were using Empire energy weapons they had captured in battle. But they were not just using them the way Empire soldiers did. They had modified the weapons, improved them, made them more deadly. "How did they do this?" Vexthul asked. "They took apart our weapons and studied them. Then they rebuilt them better. Their modifications actually improved the energy output by 12%. That is impossible. They are a primitive species." "They were a primitive species, sir. War has made them advanced very quickly." The reports from other battle groups were equally disturbing. In Europe, humans had captured an entire Empire supply convoy and were using Empire vehicles against Empire forces. In Asia, human engineers had learned to jam Empire communications by studying captured equipment. In Africa, human forces had somehow managed to shoot down Empire aircraft using improvised weapons. "Sir," the communications officer called out, "we are receiving a transmission from the Vorth sector." Vexthul's blood ran cold. The Vorth sector was 3-star systems away from Earth. No one there should know about the fighting. What do they want? "The Vorthak species is asking about the war with the humans. They want to know if the reports they have heard are true." "What reports?" "That humans are successfully resisting Empire conquest. That the Empire is losing ships to a primitive species." Vexthul closed his eyes. This was exactly what he had feared. The Empire's strength came from the belief that resistance was hopeless. If other species learned that humans were fighting back successfully, they might start getting ideas. "Send a message to the Vorth sector. Tell them the human situation is under control and will be resolved soon." But even as he gave the order, Vexthul knew it was a lie. The human situation was not under control. If anything, it was getting worse. The latest intelligence report showed that humans were not just defending anymore. They were attacking. Human raiders had struck Empire positions on the moon. Human ships, built from captured Empire technology, were harassing Empire supply lines. The species that should have surrendered months ago was taking the fight to the Empire. "Sir," his intelligence officer reported, "we have more bad news. The humans have made contact with the Kepler mining colony." "What? How?" "They captured one of our long-range communication arrays. They have been broadcasting messages to every Empire colony and subject species in this part of the galaxy." "What are they saying?" The intelligence officer played the recording. It was a human female speaking in broken but understandable Empire standard. "People of the galaxy," she said, "we are humans of Earth. The Keth-Moran Empire came to our world and demanded we surrender. We said no. They said they would destroy us. We said come and try. For 6 months they have been trying. They have sent 12 battle fleets to conquer one small world. They have lost thousands of soldiers. They have lost dozens of ships. And we are still free." The message continued. "The Empire wants you to believe that resistance is hopeless. They want you to believe that their power cannot be challenged. We are here to tell you that they are wrong. They can be fought. They can be beaten. You do not have to live as slaves forever." Vexthul turned off the recording. "How many species received this message?" "All of them, sir. Every Empire colony, every subject world, every territory in the Outer Rim. The consequences were immediate. Within days, reports started coming in from across the Empire. The Zephyrian species had declared independence. The Crystalline Confederacy was refusing to pay tribute. 3 mining colonies had expelled their Empire governors. "Sir," came another urgent report, "the Altarian Republic is mobilizing their fleets. They are demanding renegotiation of their submission treaty." This was a disaster. The Altarians had been conquered 50 years ago. They had been model subjects, never causing trouble. But they had a strong military tradition, and they had been listening to human broadcasts. What do they want? The same thing the humans demanded. They want to be treated as equals, not subjects. Vexthul realized that Earth had become more than just a military problem. It had become a symbol. Every species under Empire rule was watching to see if the humans could win their freedom. If they could, then maybe others could too. "Sir," Dr. Kethaval said quietly, "there is something else you should know about the humans." "What now?" "They are changing the nature of warfare. Look at this." She showed him footage from the latest battles. Human soldiers were not just fighting to win. They were fighting to capture Empire equipment, Empire prisoners, and Empire information. Every battle was also a learning opportunity. "They are treating this war as education," she explained. "Each fight teaches them more about our technology, our tactics, our weaknesses. They are becoming more dangerous every day." The evidence was clear in the battle reports. Early in the war, it took hundreds of humans to destroy one Empire vehicle. Now it took only a few humans with the right equipment and knowledge. The learning curve was accelerating. "How long until they match our technology completely?" Vexthul asked. "At their current rate of advancement?" 6 months, maybe less, 6 months. In 6 months, the primitive species that was supposed to surrender immediately would be technologically equal to the Empire. In 6 months, they might start building their own starships and taking the fight to other worlds. "Sir," his aide said, "High Command is requesting another status report." Vexthul looked at the data one more time. 12 battle groups engaged with no end in sight. Casualties mounting daily. Rebellion spreading across the Empire. The humans not only refusing to surrender, but growing stronger with each passing day. "Tell High Command that the situation on Earth requires immediate attention," he said. "Tell them that if we do not resolve this quickly, we may lose more than one world." "Sir," "Tell them we may lose the Empire." That night, Vexthul stood alone on his observation deck looking down at Earth. The planet still glowed with the lights of human cities. After 6 months of war, after losing thousands of soldiers and dozens of ships, the Empire had not even managed to turn off the lights. Somewhere down there, millions of humans were planning tomorrow's battles. They were studying captured Empire equipment, training new soldiers, and preparing new weapons. They were doing something the Empire had never encountered in centuries of conquest. They were winning. For the first time since the war began, Vexthul wondered if the Empire had chosen the wrong enemy. Maybe some species were too dangerous to conquer. Maybe some fights were too costly to win. Maybe the humans had been right from the beginning. Maybe freedom was worth dying for, and maybe that made it impossible to take away. As he watched Earth turn slowly below him, Vexthul began to understand something that would change everything. The Empire had not just failed to conquer the humans. The humans had conquered something far more important. They had conquered the idea that the Empire could not be defeated. 2 years after the first ultimatum, Vexthul stood before the Supreme Council of the Kethmoran Empire. The Great Chamber was silent as he delivered his report. The silence was not respect. It was shock. 17 battle groups, he said. 43,000 casualties. 112 ships lost or damaged. 2 years of constant warfare. And the humans are still free. Supreme Chancellor Mordak leaned forward on his throne. How is this possible? They are a single primitive world. They were primitive, Chancellor. They are not anymore. Vexthul activated the holographic display. Images of human soldiers appeared, but these were not the weak primitives from 2 years ago. These humans wore armor that rivaled Empire technology. They carried weapons that could pierce Empire shields. They flew ships that could outmaneuver Empire fighters. They have learned everything we know, Vexthul continued, and they have improved it. Human weapons are now more efficient than ours. Human tactics are more flexible than ours. Human soldiers are more motivated than ours. Council member Vexthar spoke up. But they must be weakened by the fighting. Surely they are ready to surrender now. No, Chancellor. They are stronger now than when we started. The hologram changed to show Earth's industrial capacity. Factories that had been destroyed in the first months of war had been rebuilt underground. Production lines that once made civilian goods now produced military equipment around the clock. They have turned their entire planet into a war machine, Vexthul explained. Every human is either a soldier, a worker supporting soldiers, or a researcher developing new weapons. They have unified their species completely. Then we use more force, declared Council Member Zefok. Send the entire fleet. Turn their world to ash. We tried that approach, Council Member. The humans expected it. The display showed Earth's defensive network. Underground cities connected by tunnels that Empire sensors could not map. Mobile weapon platforms hidden in asteroids throughout the solar system. Orbital defenses built from captured Empire technology. If we destroy Earth, we will lose the entire invasion fleet, Vexthul said. The humans have turned their star system into the most heavily defended fortress in the galaxy. Chancellor Mordak was growing angry. Then what do you recommend, Ambassador? That the mighty Kethmoran Empire surrender to a species of primitives? I recommend we consider the cost of continuing this war. Vexthul changed the display again. This time it showed a map of the Empire. Red zones marked areas where rebellion had started. Yellow zones showed systems where loyalty was questionable. Green zones represented systems still under complete control. 7 species have declared independence, he said. 15 colonies have expelled their governors. The Altarian Republic is in open revolt. The Crystalline Confederacy is building warships. All of them cite the human example. The council members whispered among themselves. The whispers were worried, angry, desperate. The humans did more than resist conquest, Vexthul continued. They proved that the Empire could be fought. Every species we rule now knows that resistance is possible. Every world we control is asking why they should obey us if humans do not. Council member Dexmore stood up. Then we make an example of Earth. We destroy it completely and we broadcast the destruction to every world in the Empire. We show them what happens to those who defy us. That will not work, Council member. Why not? Because the humans expect us to try. They have prepared for total annihilation. If we destroy Earth, we will lose so many ships that we will not be able to stop the rebellions elsewhere. The other species know this. They are waiting to see if we are strong enough to destroy Earth without weakening ourselves. The truth was even worse than Vexthul was saying. The human war had consumed so many resources that the Empire could barely maintain control of its existing territories. Every ship sent to Earth was a ship that could not patrol the outer colonies. Every soldier killed fighting humans was a soldier who could not suppress rebellions elsewhere. What about negotiation? Asked Council Member Kethlan quietly. The chamber fell silent. In 3,000 years of Empire history, they had never negotiated with equals. They had only accepted surrender or imposed conquest. What would the humans want? Chancellor Mordak asked. Recognition as a sovereign species, trade agreements instead of tribute demands, mutual defense treaties instead of submission. That is not how the Empire works. Then maybe the Empire needs to change. The words hung in the air like poison. Change was not something the Kethmoran Empire did. They conquered. They ruled. They expanded. They did not adapt to accommodate primitive species who refused to surrender. But the numbers did not lie. The Empire was spending more resources fighting one human world than they had spent conquering the previous 20 species. The war was bankrupting them. The example was inspiring rebellions. The whole foundation of empire rule was cracking. "Show me the latest reports from Earth," Chancellor Mordak ordered. The display changed to show recent footage from the war. Human forces were no longer just defending. They were attacking empire positions throughout the solar system. Human ships were raiding empire supply convoys. Human commandos were striking targets on empire-controlled moons. "They are taking the fight to us," Vexthul explained. "Soon they will have ships capable of interstellar travel. When that happens, they will start helping other rebellions directly. The war will spread beyond Earth. How soon? 6 months. Maybe less." Chancellor Mordak closed his eyes. 6 months until the humans could export their revolution to other worlds. 6 months until a species that refused to kneel could help other species stand up. "What do you recommend, Ambassador?" Vexthul had been thinking about this moment for months. "I recommend we return to Earth. Not with an invasion fleet, but with a diplomatic ship. I recommend we ask the humans if they would be willing to discuss terms." "Terms?" "We do not discuss terms with primitives. They are not primitives anymore, Chancellor. They are equals. The war has proven that." The debate that followed lasted for hours. Some council members wanted to continue the war until Earth was ash. Others wanted to withdraw completely and pretend the humans did not exist. But the practical members understood the truth. The Empire could not afford to fight humans anymore. Not financially, not militarily, not politically. Finally, Chancellor Mordak made his decision. Ambassador Vexthul will return to Earth with a small diplomatic escort. He will determine if the humans are willing to discuss a ceasefire. And if they refuse, then we will face the consequences of our choice to make enemies of a species that does not know how to surrender. 3 days later, Vexthul's ship approached Earth orbit. This time he came alone, flying a ship marked with diplomatic symbols instead of weapons. The contrast with his first arrival was stark. 2 years ago he had come to demand submission. Now he came to ask for peace, Ambassador, his pilot reported. "The humans are responding to our communication request." The message came from General Morrison, the same human who had refused surrender 2 years ago. But now Morrison spoke from a war room filled with advanced technology, surrounded by staff who looked more like Empire officers than primitive soldiers. "Ambassador Vexthul," Morrison said, "welcome back to Earth. We are willing to discuss terms, but first you need to understand something. We are not the same species you tried to conquer 2 years ago. We have learned from this war. We have grown from this war. We are stronger now than we have ever been." Morrison paused and his expression grew serious. "But we are also tired of war. If the Empire is willing to treat us as equals, we are willing to talk. If you try to demand our surrender again, we are ready to fight for another 2 years, or 10 years, or however long it takes." As Vexthul's ship descended toward Earth's surface, he looked out at a world transformed by war. The cities were rebuilt but different, designed for defense as much as living. The skies were filled with ships that mixed human innovation with Empire technology. The people he could see moved with the confidence of a species that had faced annihilation and survived. The humans had taught the galaxy, something the Empire had tried to make everyone forget. Freedom was not something that could be given or taken away by others. It was something that came from within, something that could only be destroyed by destroying the people who carried it. And some people, Vexthul had learned, would rather die than let their freedom be destroyed. As his ship touched down on the landing pad, Vexthul prepared to do something no Empire ambassador had ever done before. He prepared to negotiate with equals. The age of conquest was ending. The age of cooperation was about to begin, and it had all started with 2 words that changed the galaxy. "Come and take it."